Our next topic is responsible gaming, and more specifically, practical approaches for keeping players safe. Here to introduce the topic and participate is Dr. Tilman Becker, who will lead you through this session with his two panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Willem. We three have, each of us has a presentation. I will start with my presentation, and then we will have a presentation of Paul and then of Rasmus. They will introduce themselves, both, and...
Yeah, my name is Paul Dent. I'm from Gordon Moody. We're a treatment provider.
And I'm Rasmus Kjaergaard from Mindway AI. We are a responsible gambling and detection solution provider.
And probably you know me already, and I will start with my presentation. Now it might become a little bit scientific. I will tell you something about algorithm and algorithmic systems for early detection of players at risk. You know all algorithms. Google, in the beginning, it was the page rank. The more links are leading to one page, the higher it was ranked in Google search. Google Maps, it was the so-called Dijkstra algorithm. It's a route optimizing algorithm, and they have improved it and improved it. But in the beginning, they were very easy. They were very easy. Personal advertising, we have their algorithmic systems in place, Schufa score, and so on. We live in a world of algorithmic systems. Even in gambling, we have algorithmic systems for revenue maximization, and now they have to be used for player protection. And this is prescribed by law. We have conflicting interest. A classification that puts fewer people in the highest risk group is always better for providers, the so-called journey at zero. But a classification with a low amount of false positives and a high amount of false negatives is preferred by providers, but the opposite by therapists. We have conflicting opposite interests with regard to the algorithm. A therapist would like to have little false negatives, and a provider would like to have little false positives. And you know from COVID that it is always a question of false positives and false negatives. Furthermore, empirical research shows a strong association between high amount of money spent and high risk score. Is it in the interest of gambling providers to exclude the best consumers from play? Because if there are signs of risk or pathological gambling, they have to be excluded. This is what is written in the Glücksspielstaatsvertrag, that this algorithm is part of the social concept, and we have heard already something about the social concept or responsible gambling concept. We have no benchmark, we have no system, we have not an established criteria for these algorithmic systems. But it is important to have some criteria. It is important to know which data is used, how is the data combined, which method is used to combine the data, how are players classified in risk groups, is the percentage of players and revenue falling in one specific, what is the percentage of players and revenue falling in one specific risk group? Again, a provider would like to have very few players falling in the high risk group. But on the other side, a therapist would like to have more players in this risk group, because then we will have an intervention. When and what measures are used for the intervention? How successful are these measures? And how is the system communicated to experts, regulators, and players? I will give you a little insight into the background of the scientific literature. We know that player account data does not reflect the harm for players. Of the 9 DSM-5 criteria, you know them probably, only 3 criteria can be evaluated with player account data, 6 not. Therefore, player account data is not the same with DSM-5 criteria. Methods. We have a lot of methods. There are 2 main classes of methods. There are the white box, where you know what is happening, and the black box, where you don't know what is happening inside. And the white box, for example, is a regression model. You know what is happening, and the black box model is deep learning or neural networks and so on. You don't know what is happening inside. It's just as an algorithm, and it has different layers, for example, a neural net, and you don't know how they are linked together and what it really means. So far, the literature shows that random forest, this is a certain method, performs very well. At least 3 or 4 publications have shown that it is better than other methods. Time series methods seem to be an exception at the moment. Classification, red, yellow, green, low, medium, high. How many classes and what are the cutoff values for each class of the classification? You can have a cutoff value, this is arbitrary, that in the highest class there's 0.1% of players. Or you can have a cutoff value for the highest class of risk of 10%. It depends on the people implementing the algorithm. There is no standard, and there is no licensing procedure for this algorithm. What is the percentage of high-risk players among the population of customers according to the classification? And even more important, what is the percentage of revenue coming from each risk class? Classification is very important. Intervention. When and which form of intervention is used? What is the success of intervention hunt? How is this evaluated? How many players are excluded from play by the provider? And this is a criteria which is by therapists and people working in the area of gambling addiction very much stressed, many times stressed. How many players are really excluded? And this is a kind of signal for how responsible the provider is acting. Algorithmic systems we have on the market, we have at the moment, we have basically 2 approaches. Some are homemade by providers, and some are made by external service providers like Mindway. We have one of them here. And the greatest challenge to each system is what is used as a proxy for problematic gambling. You cannot detect, you cannot ask the player, are you problematic or not? You have only the data so far. What is really the proxy, what is used? And we have different degrees of sophistication, and we will come to the very sophisticated algorithm by Mindway, but before we will have a view of a therapist, right?